Good morning, Year 3, and welcome to our Thursday maths. I know I normally do it on a Tuesday, but I thought I'd pick this lesson because I think it's really important. It's coming from me, and you get the best advice and teaching possible for this lesson. As usual, read the learning objective out loud, then pause the video and I will read it to you. So have a go. Over to me. Learning objective. I can identify right angles. It's nice and easy today with that one. To get our brains in gear as usual, I've got a simple task just to help us tie in things that we have learned from the past 2 weeks and to test if we still understand it. So, which one is the odd one out? We've got 3 different shapes, so listen carefully. We've got a square, we've got a pentagon, and we've got a cuboid. Now what I want you to do as usual is pause the video and talk to either your parent or a sibling or talk out loud and work out which one is the odd one out and also why. Now if you want to record a video and post it on your portfolio of your explanation, then I will give you a wow dojo, so I hope to see many explanations videoed by your parents. And let's get some easy dojos this morning. Now, just to run through the answer, of course, the answer and the odd one out is a cuboid. Now, ask yourself why. The answer is the cuboid is the odd one out because it is a 3D shape, and the other 2 shapes are 2D shapes. So well done, give yourself a pat on the back if you got the answer cuboid correct and you explained it perfectly to your parent or to someone at home. So well done. As you know from our learning objective today, we are focusing on right angles. But before we look at right angles, it's really important that we get the background knowledge in our head and understand the basics of using a protractor and how to calculate an angle of a shape or just 2 lines that meet into a corner. So what is a protractor first of all, and what does it do to help us? A protractor is a measuring instrument for measuring angles of a shape or when 2 lines meet. So let's have a look at an example and let's see if we can work out how to use this protractor when we come back to school. It's a really important skill, is this. So let's look at the lines on my protractor. So you will notice the orange line that runs across 0. Then if I put a second line, we now have an angle that we need to work out. So everyone point to where it is on the bottom left of your protractor where 0 is. We're now going to count in tens all the way from the bottom orange line until we get to the top orange line to see how big this angle is. So let's count. So 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, and then finally 50. But what units are we measuring in here? Can anyone tell me? Call the answer out. The units we measure when we're looking at angle is degrees. So our answer would be for this angle 50 degrees. Now look at the little circle, it looks like a 0 above the 50. That's how we would write our degrees sign, our degrees unit. So well done if you counted them out in tens and you got the answer 50 degrees. We should all now understand clearly what we use to measure angles with and what units that we measure angles in, which is degrees. But remember our learning objective today, we're focusing specifically on right angles. But it's really important that we understand what a right angle is. I know you looked at them last week, but this is going to get even harder because it's year 3, pushing on to year 4 work is this. The definition of a right angle is an angle exactly 90 degrees, which is the same as saying a quarter turn. So if you stand up now and you turn a quarter turn clockwise, that is you moving an angle of 90 degrees. Okay? But also to help us when we come back to school, we will be identifying right angles by drawing a perfect square with a ruler. So as you can see on my angle of the two lines on the right hand side of the board, you will see I've drawn a square. That is because a square shows it's a perfect right angle. To test this out now, what we're going to do is we're going to all stand up. So I'm going to stand up, so you stand up. Now, the next thing I want you to do is we are facing forward. So look at the screen. You will notice there is a circle. If you draw a circle with a cross exactly in the middle of it, we are going to show how there are 4 right angles if we move from the center of a circle all the way back to the same spot. So stand up. Let's turn clockwise. So to your right, a quarter turn. So we've just done a 90-degree turn. Let's turn another 90 degree. And another. And then finally, the last 90-degree turn, and we are back to the middle. So well done if you did that. We have just done 4 right angle turns clockwise. And it's really important that we understand how we can use our body to understand 90-degree turns. So well done if you did that. So we understand how we turn 90 degrees using our body, but let's use the protractor now to understand how a 90-degree angle looks on a protractor. So what I want you to do is point to the bottom again, like we did on the first protractor, and we are going to count from 0 all the way up in tens till we get to our next line to measure the angle of these two lines where they meet. So let's count 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. Am I going to stop now? No, let's keep going. We've not met the line yet. 80, and finally we get to the line at 90. But remember, we measure angles in degrees, so we would put 90 degrees. Remember, if you want to double check, you can draw a little square where the angle meets, the two lines meet, and you can double check that it's a perfect angle of 90 degrees, so a right angle. So always remember this when we're talking about different problem solving questions today. When we're testing shapes today to see how many right angles we can find, remember a right angle is shaped like an L. So everyone do this with their hand. You will notice that the angle when you do an L perfectly, you should all have a right angle between your first finger, your index finger, and your thumb. But don't be fooled. If you look at my screen, you will notice that the L shape could come in different directions and different orientations where they're all facing different ways. So they don't all have to be a perfect L. It could be that way, it could be this way. Okay, the main thing is we use our basics to work out the degrees of each angle of the shape. So always remember that. We are now going to test where different lines meet, and we're going to see if they are right angles. So look at the board and look at where the two lines meet. We're now going to test it. So what I want you to do now is, with someone that's sat with you or out loud, just have a quick look and use your hand if you want to. Think, is this smaller than a right angle? Is it a right angle, or is it bigger than a right angle, or bigger than 90 degrees angle? So pause the video, have a little chat, work out just from looking at the angle, do you think it's bigger, smaller, or it is a right angle? Pause the video. So just to test it, and remember you can put a square there. If you put a square there, you will notice it is smaller than 90 degrees is this angle, because we've put our square on there. Or if you have a protractor, you can use that to test and to see if it isn't exactly 90 degrees. but just from looking at it straight away, we knew it was smaller. So give yourself a pat on the back if you said straight away that is smaller than a right angle. Our next one then, we have another set of lines that meet in a corner to make an angle. Looking straight at it, and if you want to put your finger up to the screen to compare, do you think it is smaller than a right angle? Do you think it is a right angle? Or do you think it is bigger than a right angle? Pause the video and have a quick chat. Let's just run through it then. Let's put a square there just to see if it is a right angle. And of course the answer is it is too big, so it is not a right angle. Okay, this is miles bigger than 90 degrees. If you wanted to measure this perfectly, you can use a protractor to work out the exact angle. If you post that on Dojo, I will be very impressed and I will give you another Wow Dojo. So keep going. Okay, a right angle is an angle exactly 90 degrees. We always should remember this. We keep saying it over and over again to instill it into our heads. Let's look at the square now. Just looking at the 4 different angles on the square, how many right angles do we think we have in a square? Pause the video and talk to someone. How many right angles do we have in a square? Let's have a look and let's see. A square has 1, 2, 3, and 4 right angles, and we've tested it with the little squares that we've put on our square in each corner. So we've got 4 right angles in a square. Each corner is of course 90 degrees, or if you want to use your hand just to double check, remember the L shape makes an exact 90-degree angle. So well done if you said 4 right angles in a square. How many right angles do we have in a circle now? So pause the video, have a quick chat to someone or to yourself. How many right angles do we have in a circle? Pause the video. Let's have a look then. So a circle, let's just test it with our squares. A circle has 0 or no right angles. Why? Because there are no vertices, which means there are no corners. So it is impossible to measure an angle on your circle. So they have no right angles. Always remember that. Similar to some people's house, we have a pentagon. It's not the pentagon that you'd normally see, but it has 5 sides, so it is a pentagon. How many right angles would you be able to find in this shape? Pause the video, look at each angle, and just have a quick guess and think, how many right angles do we have in this pentagon? Pause the video. Let's have a look then. So we've got 1. We don't have 2 there, so we've got 2. Not 3, because that's too big for a right angle. But then don't forget, it might not look like 1, but the L shape can come in any direction. So let's have a look. In this specific pentagon, or if you have a house that's shaped like this on the front, you have 3 90-degree angles on this specific pentagon. So give yourself a pat on the back if you said it has 3 different right angles on this shape. Your next task that I want you to do independently and post on your portfolio is identify the 2D shapes which have at least one 90-degree right angle. So it's over to you on this one. Pause the video, spend a couple of minutes looking at each. If you want to draw them out, that's absolutely fine. Or if you can print them off, that's great as well. Have a go and work out using perfect squares in each corner, or if you're lucky to have a protractor, then you can draw or you can measure out each angle and see which ones have at least one 90-degree right angle. So pause the video and then post all your work onto your portfolio. Have a go. Henry has drawn a 2D shape with at least one right angle. Draw your own 2D shape with at least one right angle, and then label the right angle or right angles if you do a shape with more than one. So have a go with a piece of paper, using a ruler if you can, and find a shape that has at least one right angle. For example, I have a right angle triangle which has at least one right angle there. So pause the video, have a go, post all your answers onto your portfolio, and I can't wait to mark them and see what fantastic shapes we come up with. Pause the video. On my board now, I have drawn loads of different lines going in different directions. Now your task is, for each line, I want you to draw another line to create a right angle, and then mark the right angle with a little square in the corner using a ruler if you've got one. So have a quick go. If you have not printed out the slides, then you can draw different straight lines in different directions like I have done, and then you need to work out where the line will make sure that it has a 90-degree or right angle as we call it, and have a quick go. Pause the video, have 2 minutes to do this, and then come back to the video and I'll show you my answers. Pause the video. Okay, let's quickly run through them. So looking at the first line, you will notice I have drawn it there. If you put a square to mark my right angle, you will see it's exactly 90 degrees. My next line is as follows. You will see if you draw a square to double check, you will find that is exactly 90 degrees. My next one, and then to finish off, my last line. So pat on your back if you got all them correct. If you drew your lines in different ways, slightly different to mine, that's absolutely fine, as long as you double check and you mark your right angles. Post all your amazing pictures of your work on Dojo, and let's make sure that we're all getting this correct. So well done if you have got most of them correct. So to finish off the final part of the lesson, we're going to play a quick fun game where you're going to either stand up if you think it's true or stand up if you think it's false. And I'm going to read you the statements now. All four-sided shapes have 4 right angles. Stand up if you think it is true. Stand up if you think it is false. My next statement is a regular octagon has no right angles. Stand up if you think it's true. Stand up if you think it's false. And then my final statement is a 5-sided shape cannot have a right angle. Stand up if you think it's true. Stand up if you think it's false. Let's just quickly run through the answers now. So, all 4-sided shapes have 4 right angles. We know a square and a rectangle have 4 right angles, but we have other shapes like a trapezium that does not have 4 right angles. So your answer, you should have stood up for false. The next one, a regular octagon has no right angles. Now looking back to our last activity, you will know the answer is true. They do not have any right angles. And the last one, a 5-sided shape cannot have a right angle. If you remember back to when we did the pentagon that looked like the front of a house, you will notice that that had 3 right angles. So the answer is false. So well done, give yourself a pat on the back if you stood up to the correct answers on all of them. If you didn't, then just listen carefully to how I explained why the answers are what they are. Our final fun question of the day. As you know, Mr. Craig likes to just make it a bit more fun with some crazy shapes. Let's have a look at my final question. Harry draws a range of 2D shapes that he says do not have right angles. Is he correct? Explain how you know. So look at some of these crazy and wacky shapes that Harry has drawn. Work out, is he correct? They have no right angles, or if he's not correct and you find a right angle, make sure you tick the ones that have a right angle in the shapes. So pause the video, have a quick go, make sure that you post them all onto your portfolio, and I can't wait to see your answers and to put even more dojos on. It is bye from now from Mr. Craig. Have a lovely weekend, and I can't wait to see you all on Monday. See you later.